Well, after a pretty good start to the week picking games, 9-3 heading into Monday night, I end up 9-5 because for whatever it is, primetime games are just my kryptonite right now. Started off good at the beginning of the season, but if you also count Thursday night football, 0-3 this week for primetime. So, I don't know, just luck of the draw. So before we get into the news, I'd like to recap the last two remaining games as I do every week. The Saints beat the Chargers 30-27. The Saints kind of pulled a rabbit out of their hat, if you will. And it seems like every time they put Taysom Hill into the lineup on the field, they're just intentionally shooting themselves in the foot. I don't know what this experiment is. I don't know what the end game is for Taysom Hill. His contract is stupid. It's just beyond stupid, and you cannot convince me otherwise. There's no reason to believe that he is taking over once Drew Brees hangs them up. Otherwise, Jameis Winston wouldn't exist on this roster. And Saints fans, you got to let me know. This is no hostility coming from me. I know the Vikings and the Saints have a history in recent years with the two playoff games and the whole social media stuff, but I don't care about that. I'm just genuinely curious what you guys think, what Saints fans think of this Taysom Hill character, and whether or not this is something that is negatively affecting your offense. It kind of makes me think the current situation in Carolina, where Christian McCaffrey's not on the field, so they've become way less predictable on offense, and they're actually spreading the ball out around a lot more. Because the thing is that with the Taysom Hill thing, it's just getting old and it's getting annoying because it seems like no matter the situation, Sean Payton has a play that is exclusively for Taysom Hill, and the fact that it is just becoming just this repetitive, piece of the offense that just I gotta believe has got to annoy Drew Brees internally. He's never going to say it out loud, but maybe 5, 6 years after he retires, he'll do some kind of an interview where he'll sort of shoot on that whole situation. But I don't know. The whole thing is annoying to me. I don't understand it. So Saints fans, let me know. I've talked to a couple Saints fans, and they've told me that they like this guy and they think he's great and they can't wait for him to take over. Small sample size. I don't know if that's really the case. That's what I'd like to find out. As far as the Chargers go, frustrating that you got to lose by one score, and it's frustrating that they seem to do that frequently. And I don't know what the answer is for the Chargers to not do this anymore, other than just a couple lucky breaks going their way here and there. The good news is that Justin Herbert looks completely legit, and he's making some throws that, should I say, mirror Josh Allen or maybe Mahomes-esque, if you will. Right now, he's doing pretty well, and there's no reason to think that this shouldn't have happened sooner. It makes me wonder what the thought process was early on in training camp with Tyrod Taylor, but that situation has resolved itself. The injuries are a concern on the Chargers side. I understand you don't have Derwin James, Chris Harris, Austin Eckler. Keenan Allen had to leave the game last night, so there's an issue with injuries popping up on this team. But I think that most of these injuries can be overcome, and the team looks good, and they're able to compete with the best of them in both conferences. So I think the Chargers are probably a 1-4 team that's at least better than the Vikings right now. And it's just a matter of time until they catch a break. Then we have the Tuesday night football game. The Bills lose to the Titans 42-16. There was a lot of question coming into this whether or not the Titans were going to be rusty, and apparently they're not. So it has created this this self-inflicted chip on the shoulder of the Titans, who can't seem to let go of the fact that people were upset with them when they broke protocol and forced a bunch of scheduling shifts. Now, it's not every Titans player fault that this happened. It's just the luck of the draw that you happen to be on the team that caused scheduling conflicts. And the Steelers and the Bills the Steelers more so, I saw on social media, were genuinely upset with them, causing them to miss out on their bye week, which is later in the season, but disrupt the impromptu bye week because they had already practiced and set forth a game plan for the Tennessee game. So the Titans, after the win, used that as some sort of us against the world mentality, which, I mean, you won big, feel free to trash talk, but that's not really the topic that I would go for. Yeah, I mean, breaking protocol, having a practice at a high school, and forcing the NFL to move things around because of you isn't the chip on the shoulder that you think it is, at least in my opinion. So congratulations on being 4-0. That is deserved. But at the same time, you are now the Astros of the NFL, in my eyes, at least for the time being. As far as the Bills go, this is one of those things where I've mentioned in previous videos that good teams will lose games. This is nothing to be alarmed about. Josh Allen just had a bad day. The Titans were miles better, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's going to happen again and again. As I've said before, there's nothing about losing that is bad when it happens infrequently because you're going to lose games 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 during this season because good teams that win 13, 13, 12, 11, 10 games are going to lose 6, 5, 4, 3, however many games. So it's going to happen. 10-6 is considered a good season, even though 6 losses sounds like a lot. So that is the 2 games that were played Monday and Tuesday night. For week 5, I'm 9-5 on picks. As I said, I went into these primetime games feeling pretty good about it. Overall in the season, 51-25 is pretty good, especially for some of the weeks that I thought were going to be way too chalky, but it ended up working out. So it's just a matter of trying to find the upsets and not overthink it and pick upsets that don't need to be upsets, if that makes sense. So moving on to the news of the day, probably the biggest topic is the Jets releasing Le'Veon Bell, which was kind of a foregone conclusion, I thought, given the fact that Adam Gase can't retain talent to save his life. So this is an intriguing situation because they were unable to get any sort of draft capital for him in return. They've been shopping him for weeks in trade talks is apparently the story. And Le'Veon Bell is now a free agent. So this is going to test the theory that I have, or that, well, it's not my theory, but it's a well-accepted theory that once good players escape the clutches of Adam Gase, they return to their normal productive self. And just look around the league, and we have firsthand evidence of that. Ryan Tannehill this year, Robbie Anderson this year is a big one. He's a solidified wide receiver 1 now in Carolina. And Devontae Parker is having a better season. Just all over the place. You can find examples just about everywhere. And so we'll see where he lands. Right now, the rumor is that the favorite spots for him to go could be Kansas City. Miami has popped up because Florida is where he trains, so the Dolphins are an option. And then there's always the Patriots, who make a living out of taking reclamation projects and turning them into gold. Other news, Joe Flacco is going to be starting his 2nd straight week for the Jets. That team is borderline unwatchable, so who cares? Vikings news, Dalvin Cook did not participate in practice today. Him and a few others. Mike Zimmer was asked about his status regarding the game against the Falcons, and he said it's the way that it sounds that Zimmer is thinking that he wants to use Dalvin Cook if possible, but it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. Dalvin Cook says he's fine. Doctors seem to think he escaped a major injury. He's just a mild situation. But I think given the bye week, they'll be smart about it and realize that they can give him 2 weeks of rest and then go full strength for the second half. In the Washington football team news, Ron Rivera was quoted as saying that he's not giving up on Dwayne Haskins just yet. He was also asked about trade rumors involving Haskins, which he replied with basically, "No comment, I'm not going to discuss anything of the sort." Dwayne Haskins was sent home from the facility today with a non-COVID related illness, so he hasn't been really all that involved since his benching, which I don't really know what kind of damage that does to the psyche of a young quarterback, especially one that needs all of the reps that he can to improve his game. So what the plan here is, I'm not sure, but at the same time, I think that Dwayne Haskins' days in Washington are probably numbered. I think this is just coach speak from Rivera. And the last piece of news, Melvin Gordon Tuesday night cited for DUI, arraignment scheduled for November 13th. And the only reason I really bring this up is just because it's inconvenient timing for Melvin Gordon's own sake, because it looks like Philip Lindsay is probably going to be coming back from injury, and that just means that he could lose his job to a running back who had a good season last year, but just been off to a slow start this year because of injury. So that is your news for the week, and that is your video for the day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.